a social an hour ago.
Oh, speaking of LGS, just after the first DRS zone, got his braking wrong, went a bit wide in that chicane there, managed to keep it in the line, slowed down and backed up, but that will compromise his lap here. Just coming up to sector 2 now, coming up to where it ends at a 1:01 on the option tyres. Oh, and it's gone very wide in the first part of the triple chicane there. Almost like the car just wouldn't stick into the grip. Really poor there. On the screen, Jonathan Saunders checking in saying hello, Swish. Well, hello to you too. Let's say if you're all watching out there, get the comments on Channel 1 and Channel 2. We are in simulcast here, courtesy GT Omega Racing and GamePod.co.uk.
LGS running incredibly wide at the hotel section this lap. Oh, and runs wide again. Nah, this is not a good lap for him. I think he's just been pushing too hard. F1 Nige, I'm on board with him. He's on the prime tyres in the Mercedes. Let's keep on board with him and see what he can do here. I was going to try and get on board with TRL Button.
A 140.7.
Yeah,
that's very, very poor indeed.
Yeah.
NMR Mr. Indigo, meanwhile, is about to start a lot, but going back to F1 Nige.
Yeah, on board with F1 Nige. He's just coming through to finish the second sector, and it's an okay lap on the prime tyres here. Looking at my reference points, I would say probably, I don't know, maybe a mid-39 on the primes, which is a decent lap. Considering, you know, he lacks the race practice, loses a little bit on curb there on the third part of that triple corner. He just got too much curb, but he's still going not too badly here, going to the triple right hand before the hotel section. Let's see if he locks up. No, he doesn't. It's quite easy to lock up round there with the change of direction and having to brake so sharply afterwards. You can easily lock it up.
At the moment, while we got F1 Nige doing that, NMR Mr. Indigo just going through the first of the DRS zones. About 35 seconds to hit the DRS line out, and then we're into this tricky chicane. Because of the heavy braking required and the high speeds there, you can easily overshoot. Oh, and he's cut the inside corner very harshly there, hit the bollard, and that really slowed him down. We're going over the DRS line. The pace is about comparable with LGS. Maybe about 1 or 2 seconds faster. But LGS did a 140.7 on the option tyres. So NMR Mr. Indigo really needs to find a few more tenths to be competitive here. Going after the triple chicane, taking that next corner a lot easier. LGS pulling way out of his teammates' way, getting brilliantly out of the line there. And then we're coming into the hotel section. Now this section is so bizarre. So many lights at night, almost cut the inside chicane there, Indigo. Needs to be much more respectful, don't want to go too far. Pace looks pretty solid, and he's pushed very close to the wall, outside of the hotel under the bridge there, into the penultimate corner, a bit wide, over the white line just, and into this tricky final corner. Got to be careful you don't go into the pits by accident. And the lap time, a 1:38.4, good enough for P3, but that is the option tyres. Meantime, Crazy Fish 1234 is asking for a shout out for Keep Fighting Shumi. We totally agree, but I'm not sure exactly what updates we've got
TRL
from Shumi, but we all hope that he gets better soon.
TRL Button has just done a 37.9 on the prime. That is ridiculous. How has he done that?
Well, I'm going on board with Lewis Hamilton, who's on the prime side, see if he can respond here. Just heading into the hotel section. I mean, that does seem extremely fast from TRL Button. Really underlying the pace here. Going under the bridge flyover. Pace looks okay from Hamilton. Got a bit too much in the inside curve, though, and that made him get out the gas a bit, going towards the wall, and now he's completely backed off in the penultimate corners, and I think he's just down straight for the box. Down in P7, he really needs to find some pace. Nero Toasty, meanwhile, after that 41.3 on the option tyres, goes out for a second run on the options. Let's see if he can get a better lap here, because he didn't do very, very well in his first run. End of the first sector. Lap time looks okay, nothing reasonable. Went a bit too wide in that really tight hairpin, and that compromises grip out towards the DRS straight. Bit scruffy here from Nero Toasty, has to be said.
Getting out of that hairpin cleanly is so important. You've got the longest straight on the track, and to maximise the top speed as early as possible. He didn't do a good job at it. Had to take 2 bites of the cherry to make sure he got out of the exit of the hairpin. But let's see what he's like at the end of the second sector. A little bit of correction out of the exit again.
Jordan Cohen98 is asking, who do we think will qualify in the top 3? Well, judging by his pace on the primes, you'd have to say TRL Button certainly looks like he's got the pace there.
He is a given.
Ice Cold Andy, he might be able to pull a lap out of the bag. If Hamilton can find a little more pace, maybe on the option tyres, he might sneak in there as well. But to be honest, I mean, the midfield does look quite close here. And even nearer Toasty appears to gain a bit more time. So it's hard to really say who's got the overall pace here in this division. in towards the hotel section for Neratosti, going a little wide on the entry there. Not too wide, though. He's got that back quite well. And he's managed to brush very, very close to the wall. Oh, he almost spun the car, though. Lost all the grip there. Now, the question is, hasn't he got any extra time here? His lap time's not brilliant, it has to be said. Outside the lines there, and it's only a 140.2. Really scruffy here from Toasty, it has to be said.
It's not probably the best track to have your debut on, but his last sector was a shambles.
Chance here. Oh, Neratosti retired in qualifying. Well, that's a penalty. You know the rules. You're not allowed to retire in qualifying.
Right, so LGS is on the lane.
Division, that's one of the first things you should do. Avoid going on to retirement in qualifying. You will have 10 seconds knocked off your race time. Let's go down there. About to complete a lap on the option tyres here. Lap looks pretty decent. A 37.7, sorry, goes P1. But that's not much faster than Button on the primes. He should be very, very worried. Jambo, meanwhile, a little bit of lag there on the DRS straight. I think this is an in-lap, though, judging by the pace.
Right, so let's try and find someone. So yes, Andy going provisional P1. And his teammate, Jambo's not done too badly either. He's currently P3. Sean B, no, he's on an in-lap. So, yeah, I think it's just that...
P6 has just started a lap. Coming up to the end of Sector 1 now, mid-17s. That's pretty much on the pole there for time. On the option tyres, so it's got the grip here, and also being right near the end of the qualifying session, there's more grip on the track as more drivers have set the laps. Clean exit out of the hairpin from Fozzie here. Potential chance to cause an upset driving for this Williams team. Definitely a driver who's got good underlying pace, but definitely needs to find a little more if he wants to be competitive in the F1 division. Heading down towards the chicane in the DRS straight. Brakes nice and late there, just before the 100-metre board, and stops that beautifully. Gets good traction through the middle of the chicane. This looks pretty strong here.
This is a good lap.
Over the section line, into the DRS zone itself. He's got a car ahead for a little extra tow there. That might help him to get a few extra Ks. Heading down towards the end of Sector 2. 59 seconds pretty much. That looks pretty strong to me. Into the triple chicane. Can he keep it clean through here? Nice and pretty. Keeps it within the lines. Hits the apex as well. And gets good exit there out of that second corner into the sector 3. He's done a really good lap here, Fozzie. Quite competitive.
I'd be surprised if this isn't an improvement by some margin. I think this should be a low 38 by the looks of it.
Flyover. And he's respected the track limits well there. Not gone too wide. Clipped the inside beautifully. Brushed the wall on the outside like he's driving around the streets of Monte Carlo. This is very attacking.
Oh!
He stepped oversteer, hit the curb, and that's going to ruin his lap. I don't think he's going to improve. He's
I can't believe that.
More.
I can't. That affected him so much going into the entry of that final corner. That was the issue there. Oh man, that would have been a fantastic lap. Sean, what do you want?
On the stream,
Sean's not feeling too good tonight.
Is asking, do we tell all new drivers are not retiring from qualifying, as nearly every driver does it? Well, we do say before you sign up to the forum, read the rules and regulations. That's what you have to do.
LGS.
LGS. 138.4 to go P4 provisionally, but Enema Mr. Indigo, his teammate, he's got a little wide out of the chicane at the end of the first DRS sector, so that's going to compromise him quite badly here, and I don't think he's going to be anywhere near the threatening pace here at all. Yeah, he's definitely blown his lap here, Indigo. This does not look promising. On the stream, Righteous Tag saying, amazing laps by Button and Andy, great race to watch. Potentially, definitely. The guys have got a lot of pace, but Button's got such pace on the prime tyres. Really gives him a great chance to control the race.
See, now, I've been practicing this week for Abu Dhabi, and I've been saying to a lot of people, you can get 38s on these tyres, easy, come on. And everyone just seems to disagree. Well, he's just gone down to 37, so... yeah.
Mr. Indigo just coming up to complete his lap now.
No, he's in.
Avoiding the mistake that Foz did, but he's not going to complete the lap. And Fozzie... He's on a final. He's on an in-lap, so that's it.
He didn't do his next lap, did he? That was a one lap only, and he unfortunately just...
Toasty has actually gained a 10th place grid drop.
Ah, odd one.
That's very odd. So that am I going to be in front of him or behind him? I don't know. F1 Night in the Velocity, curiously not setting a lap time, and neither did XRL Bobbert. I mean, this track's not the easiest in the world to overtake on. So
the tyre wear's pretty bad.
Tyres, but is it so bad that there's no point in qualifying? I mean, looking at the pace of Andy and Button and also Jambo, would you want to be so far off these guys? So look at the midfield. 38-4 from LGS, 38-4 from Indigo, 38-7 from Sean Bean, and a 38-8 from Fozzie. So you're looking at 4 drivers there, all within a few tenths of each other, and then you've got the guys out front. You know, you have to be very confident in your rate pace. To be stuck behind all that, that could really cause you problems.
Yes, definitely. I've fallen victim of things like that before, where you're sort of stuck at the back, and you know the drivers in front of you, they're not slow drivers. They're not. There's no one in this division that's a given to get past. You can't. You just can't.
Exactly. So
get
it
past.
seems a bit strange that a track like this as well. I mean, aside from the DRS zones, there's not really that many places that are great and conducive for overtaking. Especially if you get stuck behind someone in start sector 3, where it's pretty much like driving through Monte Carlo in many respects, where it's so close to the walls and there's so little room for movement. If you get stuck behind someone there and through the first half of sector 1, you could easily lose seconds. On the stream, writers tag saying his predictions Button or Andy for the win. To be honest, they are the safest bet, providing that their connections hold and they don't get themselves into any corner fracas. The problem is that turn 1 here is a very short run, then you've got a tight 90-degree corner. We've seen many times that people go wide and off the track. It's so easy to be compromised there. So you've got to be really careful and really know exactly where things are going. Now, where are you on track position-wise with that position that was penalty that was given to Neary? Are you P12?
I am indeed. You're 14, aren't you?
Right, that's good. It means you can just retire because I'm literally right behind you, so we don't have to get that out of the way of anybody. That's great.
Andy needs the victory. Well, he does. With a 20-second penalty to add to the race time here, it is vitally important that he goes and gets the win today. As we're still waiting for players. I mean, that's not a good sign that we're still waiting for players.
No, we've lost Sean Bean saying it was kicked.
I had a message from Sean saying he didn't feel very well and he probably wouldn't do the whole race anyway. But it's a shame for Sean. Because he could have done with it. He could have done with the race practice. He could have done with the race practice, considering GP2 is 100% tomorrow night. But
all divisions are 100%. That's the key thing. In the meantime, John and Kelly on my stream is saying, with TRL Button having tremendous pace, do you think he can get away with such speed? Well, yes. I mean, he's definitely got the pace. He's on the prime tyres. If he can make a sneaky move at the inside of Andy at turn 1, he could really scupper that race completely. And even if he doesn't, he might be able, on the switch strategy, to be on the faster tyres at the end. And we know that Ice Cold Andy likes to be very aggressive with his pit stop strategies. If Button's got that pace and got the tyre wear, I'd expect him to be very similar to what happened today in the Australian Grand Prix. Meantime, Crazyfish1234 is saying, safety car's going to be brought by a person hitting at the first corner bollard lag. I'm guessing you mean there's been issues in practice races where safety cars have been caused by that. It is a track that can happen. There's a lot of nice close walls together, and if you get it wrong by you thinking the runoffs of the track, you could easily cause an issue. So, it'd be interesting to see what happens there. Anyway, let's get ourselves out onto the grid so we can bring you live, uninterrupted coverage here on Twitch.tv.
Quick shape for me. I think if it all comes down to Button's start, he's on the prime tyres. Everyone around him is on the options. So, if he doesn't get a good start and gets caught behind maybe the likes of LGS, Jambo, or Indigo, for example, you know, it is, as you said, it isn't the easiest track to overtake. And if everyone's close and they've all got DRS on each other, then he could be stuck for a few laps, and Andy might be able to get that critical lead that he needs to hold off Button later on in the race when the strategies switch round. Right, so we are here for round 17 of the XRL F1 Championships, brought to you by GTMA Racing and GamePod.co.uk. Mr. Ice Cold Andy has got pole position, although it says Sean Bean. I have had a fantastic qualifying, finishing 12 somehow. And yes, it's going to be an interesting race to see who will have it between Andy and Button. Can Velexity have a good race? He's starting in 10th place, last week's winner by a good margin in India. Can he have another good race? Let's find out.
Well, 5 lights go out now. We are off here at Abu Dhabi in the United Arab Emirates. A great start for TRL Button. He's currently going. Oh, pushed Ice Cold Andy there. Jumbo's hit the back of him, and there was all of that. LGS has been collected by NMR Mr. Indigo. Ice Cold Andy has been literally pushed into the wall there. TRL Button gave no space whatsoever. LGS now up into P3. NMR Mr. Indigo in P4. We've got the Williams there, and F1 Nice destroyed its vehicle already on the opening lap. XRL Fuzzy in P6. It's got X-Lewis Hamilton in P7, and then we got the Sauer behind him, chasing very close. And Nero Toasty, who's managed to come over that 10-place grid drop very well. F1 Nige is already gone and out of the race. XRL Roberts in P9, and Valexi rounds off the top 10. Disaster at the first corners here. TRL Button guilty of leaving no room. And in the meantime, Ice Cold Andy has been passed by LGS, who snuck one on the inside at the first chicane. And then Mr. Indigo's got better drive. Oh, now Andy's lagged in front of both of them. We've got lagging problems with the Force India. He's all over the track here. LGS line up the inside, coming towards the triple chicane. Gets on the inside. Oh, and Andy chops across him. And Andy's lost connection. He's gone already. We've had 2 retirements on the opening lap.
Well, I spoke to them pre-race about the finishing rate in this division not being very high. Well, they're living up to their name again. I don't really know what happened with Nige. I think it was an invisible wall on the exit of turn 3. And, well, Andy's connection was easy enough for everyone to see there. That was
Jambos
just awful.
Hit the wall there, really struggled. And now NMR Mr. Indigo is all over his teammate. We've got an intra-team battle for McLaren. But LGS is in the box. Is that a right-through penalty? Has he got a penalty there? We've got 2 drivers currently circulating through the pits. We've got XRL LGS. Indeed, he's serving a drive-through. No idea what caused that. And also Nero Toasty as well. Both drivers have sort of drive-through penalties at the start. TRL Button now has got a huge lead. Around about 3 or 4 seconds, but that opening start from TRL Button was very, very aggressive, very reminiscent of what could have happened between Schumacher and Barrichello at Hungary in 2012. Definitely not a good drive.
I'd love to know what happened to F1 Nige. He sent me a voice message, but I am going to find out by text, I think. See if I can get through to him. But what a bad start. If you can get Andy in, that would be helpful.
Well, in the meantime, XRL Fozzy is under threat from Velocity for P6, but ahead, we suddenly got a 3-car train again, but these guys all seem content to be having a dirty race here. Lewis Hamilton running a strong P4, it's staring at the back of X-Jambo, who in turn is lining up Mr. Indigo on the outside into a triple chicane. Can he make this stick on the inside? And Mr. Indigo gives him room. They're side by side. They're still side by side after the chicane, and X-Jambo goes around the outside, holds him in the lines to make a fantastic move to take second place in the Force India. But now Lewis Hamilton looking at the back of Mr. Indigo, who's trying to get Jambo back. Well, so much for it not being a place for overtaking. We're seeing banzai battles all over the place here.
Absolutely fantastic move there from Jambo. I haven't seen anything as... Look out.
Oh, mistake for Jambo. He's hit the outside curb, and that's got a run for Mr. Indigo. But luckily for Jambo, he just caught that and was able to hold up Mr. Indigo. We've now got a 4-way scrap for second place.
So, this championship again, wide open now, with the fact that Andy has scored 0. Well, he would have scored 0 today, or 0 points scored for Andy.
Yeah, he might get 1 point.
No, he might get 1, yeah, because of Sean Bean, obviously pre-race. So 1 point for Andy. Lewis Hamilton, this is a big, big chance to make up a lot of points. He's on the prime tyre, 4th place.
That's Lewis Hamilton, Mr. Indigo, swerving all over the track to get slipstreams off the car ahead. Both guys have got DRS active now. Down towards the chicane. Lewis Hamilton following the McLaren and the Force India. Just no close speed at the moment, but at the same time, Mr. Indigo very, very close to the back of Jambo, definitely going to get a DRS here, but both drivers have got poor exit, and now Hamilton, like a sneaky assassin, is trying to get close to the pair of these guys, down towards the start of sector 3, and Mr. Indigo pulling out of the toe there, and the guys just not able to quite follow each other. Ex-Jambo now holding these guys up, and TRL Button, you can call into question how he made that move at the start, but needless to say, he's streaking ahead.
Well, this is why I want to get Andy in the party, because I have a feeling that didn't actually happen. You know, his connection was that bad. He went down straight to last, and then somehow was about 5th or 6th place by halfway through the lap, and nothing else had happened. So it was just plain connection. I don't understand.
But on my
how
screen,
that's
Sean Bean
happened.
is actually saying, because Dan's not mentioning this, tuts up to you, apparently he thinks that Button's connection is causing the incident. He's saying that the only race he was in prior to this, he disconnected from. Now, again, I don't know. So, Andy, we saw a lot of connection issues, and we also saw that tight scrap into the first corner. Can you tell us what happened?
Didn't see any of it because all the other cars were like AI cars whenever on my screen. So literally, I had like 2 or 3 second gap in the first corner. I didn't have a clue.
So you didn't see? You thought you were ahead by 2 or 3 seconds?
Well, on the screen, and all the other cars were like way behind. So I knew there was something up even before the race, even before I'd gone round, even before I lost connection.
So you pretty much knew that was going to happen then?
Codemaster ball bag.
I mean, so we didn't expect to have a chance there. You've still got a great chance for your title, but you're now going to the American continents with low points.
I'm annoyed because I just wanted to get the title sealed up here, and then of course I have to wait and go and do it in the USA, and of course it might not even be possible there.
Well, that's Lewis Hamilton. Meanwhile, sorry, come across. He's got DRS and Indigo. Tries to change direction twice. They make contact into the triple chicane, and Hamilton got out the gas there, and very, very nearly got collected by XRL Bobbitts in the Williams. All these guys tripping over each other. Evidently, these guys are also struggling to see the reference points.
Right, so after those few laps of carnage, actually Jambo's starting to make a bit of a gap on Mr. Indigo, Lewis Hamilton, and Bobbitts has just joined this pack with the other Williams of Fozzie, or is that the other way around? It's Bobbitts ahead of Fozzie.
It's Bobbitts there. I just commented that now.
Jonathan Saunders saying Jambo's move overtaking the week on lap 2. Well, it's a good shout. That was a good move.
It was an excellent move. On my stream, meanwhile, Creative is saying he feels so sorry for my neighbours. Don't. They live on a fly path. They can't hear me.
Ooh, as Indigo runs wide at turn 1, and here we go. Lewis Hamilton looking to make a move.
Him straight away.
And, well, he's on the prime tyres, and I know these options do not last
he's got
very
outside the track limits there, though.
I thought he might have just kept it in, but it was really close. Either way.
My stream's no longer a stream comment box. I've suddenly got a Twitter feed. There's 1,001 different hashtags going on here. Guys, I'm not in the mood for decoding comments. If you want to put a comment on, put it in English.
How many people you got watching tonight, Pete? I think Channel 2
According to my stream, I have 10.
Oh, that's pretty good. We're getting a good turnout tonight. Mine currently says 0, but say refreshing how many people are actually watching. So I think last count was 17. So we've got about 27
went a bit too deep into the chicane following the DRS straight there. That's allowed Indigo to close up, but at the same time he's got a poor exit. And now XRL Bobbitts in that from Williams has got the prime tyres and a little more grip at this point in the race. Heading to try and come the outside there, but anyway, Mr. Indigo's got the straight line speed. Into the triple chicane, XRL Bobbitts goes over the bollard that serves the exit from the GP2 pit lane they're using real life, and then that goes into Mr. Chicane pretty much. Poor driving there from XRL Bobbitts, really on the limit in a bad way.
Fozzie's been overtaken by Velexity and P for P6. So Velexity's starting to move this way.
Well, Hamilton goes too deep at the hairpin at the start of the hotel section, but he holds the inside line. Indigo gets totally out of shape there, goes over the inside line.
Here we go, Bobbitts is lining up a move on Indigo. These three extremely close as old. Bobbitts tries to make a move on the inside, runs wide, he's going to have to give that one back and does.
Sorry, I was getting an echo from Ice Cold on his mic. Now, in the meantime, Endemar Mr. Indigo in P4 is under threat from XRL Bobbitts. A bit of debris seems to be going over the track then. I didn't see anyone break the actual front wing, but there was a sort of random piece of, like, shard of carbon fibre. Wonder what that was. In the meantime now, XRL Bobbitts trying to close up through sector 1 to give him a good run under DRS. Hamilton, a big mistake there from Indigo. Totally gets that run, but Bobbitts goes over the inside of the chicane. Everyone's been given reprimands and points on their XRL driving licenses. If this carries on, you're going to get a penalty. Make no mistake.
Bobbitts this time, there's a much bigger gap between Indigo and the car in front, and Bobbitts making a move, but watch out for Velexity right behind. He's going to make it a double overtake.
Yeah, he's using XRL Bobbitts as the toner into the corner. Meanwhile, Mr. Indigo's pushed a little wide there, but Velexity now is going to have the DRS on Bobbitts. But the question is, How good is Mr. Indigo's exit? Not good at all. And he's actually under threat from the second Williams here. XRL Fozzy with DRS. And meanwhile, Valexi's lining up a pass here on XRL Bobbers, but he's just too far behind.
Fozzy's looking at Indigo now. Both of these guys, I think, are on the option, so their tyres are going to be wearing out pretty much now. The tyre wear is pretty awful, and it's important to get in the pits rather early. I mean, 8-9 laps is probably the max you're going to get from them. That are useful laps.
Is closing up on the back of that Williams of XRL Bobbers, who's really sliding around now, even on the prime tyres. Oh, and then Valexi hits the inside curve and drifts around it himself. Everyone's really struggling for grip and performance at the moment here. And we've already seen how many people keep on going into the tracks, the walls and everything else. It's pretty much chaos that we're here at Abu Dhabi at the moment.
F1 Nige has gone to the chat box saying he's an idiot. Yeah, he destroyed his car on turn 3 because he wanted to get his microphone closer to his mouth. So his hand slipped off the analog stick or something, apparently. And then found somewhere to destroy the car. I don't know where it was, but...
Here's a top tip for you people in the lower divisions. If you're going to adjust your mic, save it for the first DRS straight. Oh, as Velocity gets a better run on Bobbers there, actually hits the back of him during the hairpin. Caught out by the lack of performance of the Williams there. And the question now is, Mr. Indigo can take advantage and have a better drive down towards the chicane? He doesn't appear to have the straight line speed, Indigo. Because even with that mistake, Velocity's pulling away, getting very close to the back of Bobbers, but he's just not close enough to affect the pass. Obviously, I've been asked by Jordan Kelly, how far ahead do we think TRL Button is? I'd say ahead of his teammate about 4 seconds. It's not a gap as big as I thought it would be.
No, it's a bit more than that. I would say it's more, you're looking more near the 10.
But Lexi falls out to the outside of Bobbers at the end of the DRS solo sector 2. Goes on the outside of the triple chicane, and Bobbers pushes him wide through the chicane. That wasn't good driving there from XRL Bobbers. Did not leave a car's width there, and Velexity will be seething about that under the helmet, and so he should. You must make sure you leave position.
Bobbers has been given a lag. So he's actually gone back.
Just desserts. Oh, and then he's hit the back of Velexity. I think Bobbers might be in danger of losing connection here, because suddenly he's hitting the back of Velexity all the time. His car does not appear to be in the right position at all. And Mr. Indigo is getting caught up in the fracas now. Very, very difficult for these guys to see their reference points.
These 4 now, Fozzy's just trying to hold on to the back of these guys. Who we got right at the back? Is that'll be the penalty guys of Toasty and LGS. I'd assume so, yeah. I'd assumed. Oh, so it's Toasty and P8. Now I know LGS was wanting to pit extremely early. He said he'd pit back lap 4 or 5.
So the penalty same time.
So
LGS, Mr. Indigo thinking about a move on the outside of the first Texas chicane. That's a bit risky. Gets out of it, decides it's not worth it.
LGS is flying at the moment. He's actually set a lap time that's just under a 10th off what Button's done. So that really clean air, he's already done a stop as well on top of his penalty. So you'd assume after everyone's pit, he's going to come out sort of 4th place.
And the Mr. Indigo going up to the inside down at the end of the first DRS straight. He's used his curves, trying to get a better run into the chicane. And he's got by but gone over the track limits completely there. He'll have to get that position back. If he doesn't get that position back fairly, then he is going to get a penalty. Now, at the same time, Bobbers will get DRS to pull away. And all of a sudden, Fozzy's got DRS to try and close down Indigo. Indigo could be under threat of being stuck in a Williams sandwich here. Not a good place to be.
Yep, the right thing to do from Indigo there. He made sure he gave the pace back. And, yeah, it just got way too deep. The option was there to make the move, though. I mean, just got a little bit late on the brakes.
Well, meanwhile, now XRL Fozzy staring at the back of that McLaren, trying to get as close as he can to the back of Indigo and give himself a run. But Indigo got a better drive out of the hotel section there under the bridge. Really got better traction. And Fozzy now is not on the threat behind, but he's kind of losing touching distance to the McLaren. And that's where Fozzy decides he's had enough of these boots.
Jambo is in.
Fresh set, goes straight in.
So Jambo's in as well?
Well, will Jambo get held up here by Fozzy's late arrival to the pits? Potentially. I think he might. No, he's just got away with that. So he could have been compromised there by Fozzy, but he did well.
Crazy Fish commenting on the stream. Oh God, go for your stream first.
Yeah, Motorsport Nerd is asking for my thoughts on the race this morning. Spoiler alert, I'm going to talk about this now. If you don't want to listen, the mute button is your friend. And here we go. Personally, I thought the race was quite exciting. I liked the fact that the cars were all variable pace. I felt really sorry for Massa. He deserved better from that. I felt sorry for Kobayashi. He needs better brakes. I also thought that Hamilton and Vettel were very unlucky with their engines literally giving up. And the Lotuses were absolutely horrible. But the great thing about it for me was the feel-good story of how both Kevin Magnussen and Daniel Ricciardo showed great pace. However, speaking of Daniel Ricciardo, he's a bit unfortunate to have been shown the black flag, courtesy of his own team being idiots and not following the FIA directive.
Exactly. Apparently they were told in the race that something needs to be done about it, and they sort of ignored.
Well, basically, Red Bull are guilty of the greatest arrogance of all. They said all weekend they know that the FIA censor is incorrect, so we're going to use our own. This is despite the FIA saying this is what we're taking as undisputable proof. So the fact of the matter is this. They might as well have turned up with a car that says, no, we're not going to have a solid rear wing. We're going to have a flexible one that gives us more downforce, because we know it's better than the one in the regulations. You simply can't do that.
Because they're the world champions, they're trying every sort of trick in the book to... Well, they know they're struggling.
No, that's not a trick, that's just stupidity. That's like being able to expect to walk into an exam with the answer sheet and go, oh, well, I've got a different syllabus, so my answer's going to be right no matter what. It's nonsense, you can't do that.
It is. I did comment in the pre-show. Well, actually, firstly, I'm going to ask you who your driver of the day was.
In the race today, I think it's hard to go with anyone but Kev Magnussen. Everyone expected him to either go backwards in the race or get a bit too hot-headed. And he just kept it cool, really pressurised the guys ahead of him, built a good gap, managed his pace brilliantly well. It's the dream debut.
Well, this is probably some of the things we'll talk about on the panel show. Hopefully, if this comes to life within the next week, I'll have a little bit of a plan about it. We would start recording not next week, but the week after, the week before the Malaysian Grand Prix. So it gives me a little bit of time to plan how it's going to work. As Indigo and Bobbitts are fighting it out, as Bobbitts tries to go out on the outside on the defence, Indigo gives him plenty of room this time, and Bobbitts makes a good move stick there. So he's now up into P4. Indigo though will have the DRS. Let's see if he can make the move before I continue with my what I was going to say.
Yeah, definitely. He's going up to the inside. Bobbitts commits to the outside. Let's grip there. And Indigo's going to have the better lot. Oh! Bit too ambitious on the brakes there, Indigo. Yeah. Wisely backs off, makes sure he doesn't gain an advantage. But he's got to not let the frustration of being stuck behind Bobbitts make him make a mistake like that.
I'm surprised he isn't P yet.
He's got the Sauber of Nira Toasty all over the back of him. He's come from nowhere in P6.
Well, actually, right, let's continue with this. I'll get back to my point, because I think Keys just said my driver of the day on our chat, so... Right, so we've got Toasty. Yeah, he's done really well, actually, considering he's had a penalty. He's yet to stop, as well as all of these guys.
And Algier. Bobbitts is on the prime tyres.
Bobbitts is on the primes. That's a surprising one, to see him pit so early.
Oh my God, is he pitted? He's not in the pits.
What, who, Bobbitts?
Oh, maybe he's disappeared. What's going on? Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was on the prime tyres.
Yeah, he was. But he's gone in the pits.
Yeah, so
he's just got awful tyre wear. Odd one.
Really bad if you only get 11 laps out of the
I think he was just trying to get out of the way and get some time on his own, but that's actually not worked out because Indigo's gone in as well. Velexiti's up into P3 with Lewis Hamilton in P2 at the moment. Just about 3 or 4 seconds split between those two drivers.
Not much between them at all.
Clubs really again agreeing with my selection, so we may as well go through it now. It's something that we'll do in the panel show. We'll record in just over a week's time, hopefully, and I'll finalise the final few bits as well as Race of Champions as well. My point is, Magnussen, he did a fantastic job today. Okay, he got second in the end, but at the same time, for all of his good work, you know, bad drivers don't get into a team like McLaren. So he's not a bad driver. He's a good driver. Ron Dennis obviously thinks highly of him. Yeah, but Ron Dennis wasn't in charge then, so we can let that one go. But Ron Dennis, he knows what he's doing at McLaren. He's been there this season. He knows what he's doing, and he's employed a good driver in Magnussen. So they're not going to employ fools who can't drive a car. So in my opinion, you know, he had a reasonably quiet race, Magnussen. You know, he got a decent start. He got lucky with Hamilton and Vettel, well, Hamilton mainly, retiring from the race. apart from that, he had a pretty quiet race until the end where he tries to fight Ricciardo. Again, not the most experienced of drivers. So I wouldn't say he did have a great race. He's had a good race. He's had a good car behind him, but he hasn't really had that many battles with top drivers. Only near the end where it just sort of got a bit closer. That's why I think my prediction was Bottas. Oh yeah,
track position for awesome qualifying.
Yeah, that's where he won it.
Bottas,
that's where he got the position.
Bottas would be my choice if it wasn't for the fact that he was an idiot and overdrove the car and very nearly wrote the chassis off.
That is
points for that.
That was the only negative about him today. But having said that, yes, Magnussen did most of his work on the Saturday afternoon. But full credit to him, he got the podium today and he did a pretty good job to get the podium. But at the same time, he had a reasonably quiet race, whereas Bottas had to do it the long way round, overtaking some Tovas.
Here, I think it's XRL LGS in the McLaren. First DRS zone, he's easily pulled by there. I think LGS deliberately let him through though, and has got a much better drive at the second chicane. This is exactly what I was talking about here. But they're side by side at the activation zone. There goes the flap on LGS's car, but they're still going to be side by side heading towards the final corner. But LGS has got the high ground, and he maintains position.
And he can get the car to stop in good time as well. So Fozzie, who'll be racing tomorrow night, this is all useful data for him to go around the track and put some laps in, and he'll treat it as a practice more than anything.
I've got a very strange comment on my stream here from Jordan Kelly saying, sometimes I should sit down and read a book. I've got news for you, pal. I've wrote a book, let alone sat down and read one.
Right, so yeah, Bobbitt's is under a little bit of pressure here from Mr. Indigo. These guys pitting from Prime and Options respectively. Bobbitt just having a bit of a difficult race here. To only get 10-11 laps from his first stint. Indigo seems to be taking this last sector much cleaner than Bobbitt. He seems to be here, there and everywhere. I'd expect Indigo to try and get a move done here.
He's certainly got the pace in the McLaren, but he's still way down the field here in pitted. And we've already got the sun starting to set here. You can see how the angle of the sun started to decrease.
It has, yeah.
Floodlights will start coming into effect quite soon.
Yep, them floodlights have actually turned on, I think, but not that they're really of any effect at the moment. But obviously, on F1 2014 and in the 2014 season, Bahrain will be another one of these races in the desert where it'll be a twilight race. Or is it just a complete night race in Bahrain?
Twilight in Bahrain.
Yeah. So, yeah, I quite like that. I think it's a solid move. It makes the viewing time a bit better.
Indigo's going to use the curves here to blast up down the straight before the DRS activation zone.
He's left some as well for his next.
Very, very, very good lap here if he's going to be able to hold position through the second DRS zone. Because XRL Bobbitt's getting much better on the brakes there. Really caught out Indigo. Indigo braked a lot earlier.
I'm very surprised Bobbitt's got that to stop because he braked on the curb, and that usually means you can lock the car up really well. But he got that done very, very well there. And Bobbitt's though hasn't really closed on him considering with the DRS. Only under braking as he closed. I mean, Indigo did have a bit of curves, but
Bobbitt's crossed the chicane there twice. Goes over the white line at both the second and third corner. Bobbitt's really struggling with this car, but either way, for an F1 division driver, that's not the standard we expect.
Right, so we've got a Red Bull 1-2. Lewis Hamilton's currently got the lead with TRL Button now on the option tyres after making a stop. Let's see if he can make a move on his teammate round the outside.
We've got Velocity in the pits, and also we've got Nero.
That's a penalty
as well.
Button's just picked up a penalty right there. Oh, illegal overtake on lap 14 by TRL Button.
What did he do? Because I was following the pit.
Overtook around the outside of turn 3, or turn 3. Around the outside on the left-hand side, and he made the move over the white lines. He ran wide, turbulent air. So unfortunately, it looks a stone wall one, but I can't really definitely say until.
This is the one thing I've seen from TRL Button's race. He's got the pace, but he certainly seems to attract a lot of trouble. We saw what happened in that first corner. Now, Andy's saying that he saw no one else around him, but it looked like Button gave him no room at all. And now we've seen that. You know, you've got to stick to the rules. Just because you're fast doesn't mean you can break all the rules in the book.
Right, so yes. Just Key on the chat talking about the panel show a little bit more. He's saying, best get recording the panel show now, Dan. The plan will be, we'll record the panel show in about a week and a half's time for the Sunday. And that will give me time just to get our line up our first week's lineup. Pete, you're a regular panelist. Is that something that you think would be okay for you to do in terms of time constraints? And
Midweek's not a problem.
your midweek's not a problem. I was wanting to get Just Key as the other regular panelist, and then I just need to find a regular host. So to anyone who is watching the stream, who feels like they've got a good presentable voice and doesn't sort of and ah like I do on when I speak and everything like that, and can keep it flowing, just let us know, because we want to get you in and possibly give you a presenting role, and then we'll have 2 weekly panelists who are different each week, or it won't be every week. We'll do these probably the weeks of the F1 races in real life. We might do them every week. It depends if we've got enough to talk about, because it will be a factual / funny sort of take on the F1 season, not our season, but the real life F1 season. So yeah, I think it'll be quite good. It'll be something different, and we'll go on to our pre-shows. We might well have one for the final race of the season. It'll be sort of our pilot episode, as well as trying to iron out any errors that we can make for the new season to make next season. Give next season as much coverage as possible, more leagues, just the whole package.
XRL Fozzy now is getting very close to the back of Mr. Indigo.
He is indeed.
DRS flat was wide open there. And now it gives him a great chance heading down towards the second part of this lap. The chicane, it's XRL LGS actually, not Mr. Indigo, I do apologise. So Fozzy's got a DRS flap open for his second sector, but LGS is just pulling up for a gap here, and he's on the prime tyres, LGS, whereas Fozzy's on the options. So while Fozzy's going to have a lot more grip out of the smaller corners, LGS is going to have the better tyre wear. And if LGS holds him up enough, that's really going to compromise Fozzy. Well, Fozzy's got very close with his sector 3. Really got so much better drivability. He's making a move on the inside before the hairpin at the hotel.
Oh.
But he goes over the white lines, so lets LGS back through.
That was
so
nearly an absolutely fantastic overtake. That was so close.
Nearly,
it's just when you get on that inside there, it makes the corner extremely narrow to actually get it back in the track limits on exit. And as he found out there, he just ran a little bit deep, and that's just caused him just to go wide, and he had to give the pace back. But Fozzy's on about 5 or 6 lap old option tyres, so the wear is still okay. And LGS is on about 11 lap old primes. He pitted very, very early for his first stint. That's why he's in 4th.
He's got better grip in the high-speed corners, hasn't he? And Fozzy was thinking about the inside of the chicane there, but gave it up, realising he'd give the DRS initiative, and the fact it's not really a good spot to overtake. But XRL Fozzy now, I mean, look at how wide LGS has gone there. LGS is really struggling for grip here. Are we going to see a 5-stop strategy? Because he went in on lap 5, and now he's suddenly got no pace at all. DRS flat wide open, XRL Fozzy. He's not waiting for the second zone. Now the question is LGS going to have enough grip out of the corner to steal it back? Fozzy goes totally off the track there. He's going to have to get that place back, and immediately he does so.
Look how much he's lost out of that, though. He's lost quite a lot out of it, and I believe LGS might well have the DRS on. Yeah, he does. So he's actually got a double whammy there, and LGS will live to fight another day and probably be ahead of him for at least another lap here. So we've got a little bit of a fight.
On the back of Jambo as well in P3.
Jambo's made the pass.
On those tyres.
Jambo's made the pass on Lewis Hamilton, as TRL Button did only about 3 laps ago, or 3 laps ago. Lewis Hamilton will pit.
Hamilton's boxing right now. Good call there. Oh, he's gone too wide. He's hit the pit wall.
That's lucky he didn't
have no damage to the car.
That is lucky he didn't break an end plate there. Looking at it, though,
he didn't retire the car.
Jambo, if TRL Button gets a penalty for if TRL Button gets a penalty for his overtake, Jambo doesn't have to find that much time, and he could be in the race-winning position.
Indeed. Well, we've got Hamilton just leaving the pits now, trying to get onto the back of XRL LGS, who's now running provisional P3. Done a 1:45.0 as his best lap, so he's not got bad pace here. TRL Button and Alex Jambo are quite far up the road, though, so it's hard to see him competing this into a podium position. Meanwhile, in P5, we've got NMR Mr. Indigo being chased down by Nira Toasty, who's really doing well to recover from his penalties and his off-track excursions, and also the penalty from qualifying as well.
Indigo and Toasty under pressure.
Trying to make it all up.
Toasty and P6 trying to get past Indigo now. DRS flap wide open, and, well, does he decide to make it now, or will he hold back? I think he's holding back. He's actually, the DRS flap has shut.
Right.
And he stays back. Ooh, gives a little nudge
Contact
to
between
Indigo
the car
there.
there, but Enema Mr. Indigo's had to miss the chicane as a result of it. Neratostigo doesn't gain the advantage. Meanwhile, Crazy Fish, stop sending me the same message. My neighbours aren't important. This race is. So Neratosti's got the DRS flap open here, trying to chase us to the back of Enema Mr. Indigo. And look at that, Neratosti late on the brakes there. Cuts the inside chicane now and then gives no room whatsoever to Enema Mr. Indigo, who had to go through the chicane. And Neratosti driving very naughtily there, did not give anywhere near enough room. Same time, though, Enema Mr. Indigo cuts the chicane and the hairpin corner, just before the hotel. So all drivers, once again, disappointingly, not following the rules with regards to being on the track limits. Despite them all getting driving licence points, well, aside from the Davidtons, of course, because they weren't here, you newly need to keep in the track limits. It's not something we accept.
Having said that, tonight has been not anywhere near as bad as last week. I think India was more of a one-off, but as I say that, Indigo keeping very, very close, if not going off again at turn 1. But there aren't as many corners to cut here, but even when they do find a way still. But
asked on the stream by
these
Jordan
curbs,
Kelly, how far ahead is Button? Well, Button on track at the moment. He's just going up to the end of Sector 2. Behind him, ex-Jambo has only just gone through the chicane. So that's about, it's about 10 seconds. 10 to 15, maybe.
Lewis Hamilton makes the pass on LGS. LGS is actually missing an M plate on the right-hand side.
Despite that, he's still got good pace in that McLaren. He's doing well to close down on Hamilton. Even though he's been passed, he's got very old prime tyres there, LGS.
Right, so should we have a look
roughly
where... let's have a look roughly what the gap is between. So... it's about 14 seconds. Oh, but Jambo spun it! In the hotel, just under the hotel. He's lucky to not have any wing damage there. He actually spun, so he hit the wall on its side. But he's definitely lost a couple more seconds there as lap time.
I'm now implementing a new rule for my stream. Anyone who uses hashtags gets an automatic 10-second penalty for each time. I'm getting sick of it. Stop spamming my box.
You do know they're just going to do it now just to annoy you.
Well, I'm just going to tally them all off and they're all going to lose about 4 laps in the race then.
So LGS is in the pits. His tyres have gone about 15-16 laps on those primes. It's about the norm. He's in again for now his second stop on lap 19. Is this about to start 20 or is he on his 19th? No, he's on his 19th. So
an interesting question on the stream from Riotous Tiger. It's a double question. Saying, what do we think will be one of the greatest races in this year's F1 calendar and also the best race in the XRL League? We'll talk about this week's
You answer that. I'm going to go get a quick drink, alright, and then I'll answer that when I get back.
Well, in the meantime, while Dan goes away to get his rehydration fluid, I'll give you my answers. Regarding the F1 race for real, with the new torque in the engines and a lower downforce, I'm actually expecting it to be quite a good race at the tracks where it's been between medium and high downforce. So I think somewhere like Suzuka and somewhere like Spa will be absolutely awesome, because you'll really have the cars going flat out through the likes of Degner, through the likes of 130R, down the Camel Straight and so forth. But then you'll also have the really tight chicanes and the tight corners. Flex Timmy while looking up a move at the inside here of XRL LGS, and with the option, rubber gets it stopped way before the chicane and keeps on the lines. Well, LGS is fighting back through the second part, not giving up. Cuts the middle chicane though, and that's the end of it. So Indigo keeps that on the island there. As for the actual real at the XRL League, it's difficult to call what the best race will be, because we always seem to have races that are great and then they get followed up immediately with one again. But for me, one of the best races we had was this year's Malaysia Grand Prix in the F1 division. A lot of stuff happened there, which was really, really awesome. But there's that many races to choose from. It's really hard to say. Mr. D's 983, meanwhile, on my stream, is saying that Monaco with the new cars will be interesting. I agree completely, because Monaco's got the really high elevation change from Sandermote to Casino Square, and you've also got the likes of Lowe's, you've got the likes of Rascas, you've got the swimming pool, which is high speed normally, but with the V6 turbos and a lot of torque and much lower downforce, anything's possible. I just hope that they don't do what happened at last year's Monaco and drive far too slowly. And Mr. Indigo, meanwhile, trying to get a move back on Velocity, but he's going very wide at the hairpin in the start of Sector 2. He's really taking not too long, and XRL Bobbins has retired from the race. Well, that's interesting. I'm wondering why he's retired. It's been unusual for Bobbins to just disappear like that. Maybe I'll see if I can find out what caused that, because it seems to be quite well on the pace. Seems to be battling with most of the guys in front of him. Definitely had quite a lot of pace in the car, so potential points going begging here for XRL Bobbins, and I'm struggling to understand why.
Not bad news, I hope.
I don't know, I'm trying to get him into the park, I can't find him, perhaps you can.
Maybe he's appearing, maybe it's not offline, there's lost connection. Oh, quick
No,
look,
he
it's
retired,
definitely...
he didn't lose connection.
Oh, really? It's definitely noticeable that the weather changed now, though.
The light is definitely going down, you can really see it there. With the sun very, very low on the horizon, you can really make out those floodlights. We are in the dusk area. Look at the hotel as well. You're getting that golden hue. As XRL Bobbins has now suddenly started appearing, maybe I'll be able to get him. Go away. I know that's his activity. Just
Don't worry, I've invited him.
So in the meantime now, Indigo's dropped away from Velocity, who's really starting to drop him, but he's opposite side. Bobbins, we saw that you retired, but your pace looked really quite strong. What caused the retirement?
First of all, on lap 10, when Indigo and I were battling, and I held position going after the second DRS zone, the game decided to give me an in-game penalty because apparently I caused a collision when nothing happened. So not only was I given that, but then after that, the game just decided to keep on lagging me, losing second by second each lap. So I decided on that point to retire because I'd had enough.
Okay, so what was the penalty you said was causing a collision?
It was when Indigo and I were going side by side, and after the second DRS zone going into Sector 3, and it just and I went round the outside. I held the position. And then it came up with that I caused the collision and it gave me a penalty.
Right, well we can obviously look into that to see if we've got anything obvious there. But you say you had poor connection as well after that, which made it very difficult.
Well, it was before that. I mean, just before that. I mean, when I was ahead of, it was when I was running in fourth at the time, and the game just kept on. Well, at that point, it gave me a second lag, so I lagged behind and lost a couple of places.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, and then I had it just a couple of times after that, and I've just had enough.
Okay, well, moving on.
Sorry, go on. Carry on.
No, okay. I was about to say, well, very sorry about that, commiserations. But moving on to next week, we are going to be at the Circuit of the Americas, Austin, Texas. Is that somewhere where you go quite strongly? Do you think you've got a chance of getting some good points?
Not too sure. The only track I do know that I'm really strong at that is left is Brazil, and probably that's the only track I'm looking forward to that is left. So next week's going to be a 50-50 one.
Oh, Brazil's an easy track. Pick a track that's actually like, you know, you need some skill for. Or you're just saying you're like skillless.
All I know is when I was still in GP2 and I beat an F1 driver in our league round Brazil, I knew at that point that I had pace for it. So that's why I'm looking forward to Brazil.
Well, in the meantime, Jambo's come out of the pitch right behind NMR Mr. Indigo, I believe, in the McLaren. So he's in P6 at the moment. He's on very fresh tyres, and he's got a DRS here. So this is a great chance now for ex-Jambo to be able to affect a pass. Now, he's going to go into the first chicane. Now, he plays his long game a bit here, knowing that he's going to have to pace on the fresher tyres. Now, both drivers get a poor exit out of the chicane, though. Jambo just gets better traction, less wheel spin on the fresher tyres, and he's got the DRS flat wide open. XRL Fuzzy, meanwhile, behind him, is trying to get closer. And Jambo goes to the inside. Can he get the car stopped before the chicane without going over the white lines? Yes, he can. Excellent pass.
Pretty simple pass there, eventually, for Jambo, not having to stick behind him for too long. On his first lap out, and hopefully he can start taking a bit of a gap, as I believe that's TRL Button is now in the pits, and that is your race leader in the pit. So let's see where he comes out. TRL Button's gone on to the options again, and Lewis Hamilton looks like he's just going to get ahead again. It's going to be very, very close on exit. Let's see.
We've got an interesting duel coming up here, because ex-Jambo now are starting to close down Velexity, who goes very, very wide at the final corner. The Oxford tyres giving up the grip here. Jambo feels like he's got a great chance. He's on the inside, and before turn 1, he is past the Mercedes. Now, has that Mercedes reached the end of its grip? Because if it has, it's a very long lap here at Abu Dhabi, and we've already got behind him both NMR Mr. Indigo and the McLaren, and right behind him in the Williams, we've got XRL Fozzy. So Lexity's really got a chance of losing out big time here, but at the same time, Lexity's not letting Jambo get away from him for sector 1, and he is going to have the DRS. As you can see, the light is really beginning to fade now here at the United Arab Emirates circuit of Yas Marina in Abu Dhabi, and we're going to see those floodlights start to take big effect very, very soon indeed. DRS flats going to be wide open. XRL Fozzy down towards the chicane in the middle of sector 2. A great chance to affect the pass of Indigo. The question is he going to have to pace in the back of Velexity to retain the DRS advantage, or will Indigo get a chance to overtake him again? Or this time Fozzy gets the brake stop nice and smoothly, and right now Indigo's right behind him now over the detection line, and Indigo's got a great chance to just blast straight back past. There goes the flap and the curse. Out of curse now, so he's on towards the final chicane. This three-part corner, Fozzy holds the middle of the ground there. Make sure he gives no wine on either side. And Indigo has to filter into 7th place. Good defensive driving.
I've had a message from Fearless, in fact, just now about his GP2 chances. Now, he won't be back until Brazil. And it'll be Sean's final race in the GP2 Championship on tomorrow. It'll be his final race because exams meaning or certain things mean he will not be able to race the final couple of races, which is a bit of a shame, but he's worked it out, and I have to say I think you're wrong in your workings, because Sean has got a 13-point lead. Therefore Sean needs to finish really outside the podium. He needs to finish 5th, and you need to win for you to win. I mean, if he gets if he gets 4th or better, he's won. That's how it works.
Got a scrap for the leader. TRL button on the fresh option tyres. I've got DRS on the back of his teammate, Lewis Hamilton. Hamilton goes to the outside towards the chicane in the hairpins. And as a result of that, TRL button goes through, goes a little deep on the exit though, and Lewis Hamilton stuck very close to the back of his teammate, saved a lot of curves. There goes the energy boost. He's going to get right near the DRS line. Great chance to take that lead straight back into the triple chicane at start sector 3. Oh! Hamilton tried to sell him a dummy, almost went into the wall there, had to get out of the gas, and TRL button was let off there. Hamilton just went far too close to that shrinking gas. That was very nearly paid the gas.
That was a poor idea there from Lewis Hamilton. I don't really understand why he needs to do that. He could blast around the outside and had the racing line for the second part of that 3-part chicane. And now I think that lead's lost. You'll see TRL button start to drive away.
You don't see the effect of that outside the hotel section. Look at that gap already.
Yes, he did, Key, by the way. He did come second last week. But yeah, right. I'll answer my part of the question now, I suppose.
Yep, go on.
Right. Well, I think it'll be nice to see the F1 cars return to Austria and the A1 ring. I think that's going to be an interesting one because I can remember playing that on some of the older games. Oh god, my throat is just gone. I can't speak.
You're not the one doing them, do you?
I know, I've still got quite a bit of cold, you see. That's what it is, still got a bit of the man flu.
You're gonna be the man flu.
Oh, whatever, right. But yeah, as I was saying, A1 ring, that's going to be good to see, as well as possibly Sochi. I mean, I think that'll be quite an interesting track. Any new track's good to watch. Circuit of the Americas, I always like watching racing, but one I do enjoy, or I think will be quite good, will be Spa, based on the fact that it's quite a changeable race for a start, and how the cars, with the amount of torque and lack of grip that they've got, will handle those conditions. Suzuka as well, the amount of change in direction.
Right up to the back of the Sauber. Believe it or not, running in P3, we've got Nira Toasty, but he's going to get absolutely blasted past here. Jambo's got the DRS. He's already by before the 100-metre board. On the brakes, getting into the final corner, and Jambo clips the inside apexes beautifully. So Nira Toasty filters into P4, but that's a great recovery drive from this debutant for the Sauber. He's really had a lot of mistakes. He's had the penalty in this race. He's got the penalty pending from the qualifying, but he's doing enough to really get the gaps here, and he potentially could get 4th place. depending on how the other guys go on the pit stops, but he's done really well so far.
Yeah, I think Suzuka will also be a good race. The change in direction around there, quite demanding on these new cars.
On the stream, good question here from Mr. Deeds, saying, is Hockenheim in next year? Well, it'll be this season, because obviously we were at the Nürburgring last year. Well, there's all kinds of rumours regarding the German Grand Prix. We always hear every year how both Grand Prix are struggling, and that's why they do the whole track share. The idea being that they reduce the cost by doing it on off years rather than every year. As near a totally cuts the chicane at the end of Sector 1, not very good driving there. The problem is that Hockenheim, it's apparently one of the rumours they had is that if their contract was going to come to an end, they'd rip up the trees and go back to the old layout. Part of me wishes the contract expires just so they can do that. Because the current Hockenheim is pathetic. You can really see the effect now as the night sky has really started to take over here. If you look to the side, look how low on the horizon that sun is now, and the bright lights on the top of the grandstands and the floodlights have started to come into effect. We're very near the nighttime race here, and we're not even at half distance yet. These guys have made this into a real marathon. Why is this race so long when the track line's so long? Meanwhile, my commentators take a leave of absence, so I'll try and give you a rundown of what's going on. If you run down the main order at the moment, we've got Tiara Button out in front on a 1:41.9.
He's in the pits.
Well faster than the other people.
Or is he? Is that a drive-through penalty?
Let's find out. Lewis Hamilton's now in P1. Riding on board with Button, he doesn't appear to have stopped.
He's in the pits online. He's currently P2.
Yeah, he's just coming out of the pits now.
Yeah, but I don't know if it's. I don't think it's for a pit stop. See, he pitted about 4 laps
His
ago.
tyres appear to have. Yeah, they've got lines on the tyres. If I go up close on the rear tyre, you can definitely see a line of wear. I get the feeling that he's had a drive-through for something, and I don't know what.
Corner cutting. I have seen him every now and again. Only when I've gone on board.
Most nerd is actually saying it puzzles him how the German circuits are struggling for finance after having Schuby win 5 times in a row and now Seb with 4 in terms of titles. Well, the fact of the matter is, just because your countryman is doing well does not mean that your circuits are going to generate the sales. And the key fact is that last year, I think it was 60,000 people attended at Hockenheim. It's got a capacity of well over 100,000. I think part of the problem for a lot of the circuits is that the cost of the weekend keeps people away. I'll give you an example here. I mean, all of you know that I'm going to Le Mans this year. My trip to Le Mans for the 24 hours and a whole week of racing is cheaper than going to Silverstone. And I know many British people actually don't go Silverstone and instead go to Spa, which is a lot cheaper. Definitely. So I think economically, it's not worth going to some of these circuits, unfortunately. And part of the problem is Bernie Ecclestone. He needs to get his prices sorted out because so many tracks now are really, really struggling. We've seen Korea fall by the wayside.
Oh, Fozzie
We've
spins.
seen India.
And has just broken one end plate, but he's lost a position to the McLaren of LGS. And I think that could be Alexi try to go through here.
Yeah,
he
and
lets
let
him
him
through.
He's made sure he's not got in his way there. Fozzie will be furious with that because he was really looking at a strong position. We don't know how close to his pit window he is, but One's going straight in anyway. He's not waiting for his pit window. He's decided to split his strategy as the floodlights are now on full beam here. We are in a night race now in the middle of the desert. That's bizarre, that. Still a concept I don't quite understand. LGS now running well in P4. We've got a bit of a field spread, unfortunately, now. Ever since all these accidents have happened, we've not really got any close on-track battles. So, a bit of a crazy one. Going back to the main season itself, then. One of the big stories so far this season, for those of you, again, spoiler alert, mute it now if you don't want to hear, is the performance of the Lotus. Now, it's interesting because when they first unveiled their car with the split tusk nose, the idea to get extra air both through the middle and under the car, and their performance last year, everyone expected them to be a dark horse for the title, kind of like BMW Sauber were in 2007 and 2008. But apparently, before they went into Australia, They said they're a month behind on their car preparation.
That's not good.
Shocking.
Well, that doesn't even make sense because there wasn't a month between the first and second test, was there? So they were behind anyway.
Well, they deliberately said they're not going to the first test so they could dedicate more time to the car. What were they doing? Playing poker? It's like the worst thing as well is, I mean, the person I feel must really be ruining what he's done is Pastor Maldonado.
Yeah.
Mainly because last season he alienated a Williams team who underperformed. It has to be said. That's the gentle way of putting it. But in the final few rounds, they found competitive pace and a platform for the next year. Maldonado kept on claiming sabotage and everything else when the plain fact was he sucked. And then he's like, oh, I'm going over to Lotus, pastures new. And now, look at the pace of that Williams, rated as potentially the third fastest car, fuel adjusted. He must be kicking himself. I know I would be.
Yep, he's made a massive error there. I think he just needed to look at it and think, well, Williams were getting some key staff in next year, Mercedes engines, Mercedes, even at the end of the day, were going to be the favourites for this season, just based on the engine. So,
yeah, I mean,
really,
Mercedes would definitely have an advantage on power. You can't say on reliability, though. I mean, if you look at the race today, Hamilton's first of all, but then you also had Jenson Button in the first stint of his race had a lot less pace than his teammate, like Hamilton had to Rosberg. I don't think that Mercedes engine is as bulletproof as everyone thinks it is.
No, it's not, but they've still got the most complete package out of all of them. The Mercedes engine package is the most complete. As Lewis
I thought
Hamilton
we were about
pits
to
in
have
the
a
lead.
battle then, but Hamilton dives into the pits and Button, who was right behind him, goes straight through.
So interesting to see
that's
Button's just
disappointing.
done a 43, so I mean if it's a fresh set of tyres, a 43 is not particularly strong. I don't understand where he gets his lap time.
Tyres.
Yeah, I don't understand it. Maybe now it's getting closer to sort of the end of the race with the dark. I don't know, maybe the track gets a bit cooler and the tyres can last a bit longer. I don't know. But
Well, in real life it does, but we know how good simulating real life co-masters are. It's hard to believe that's true.
So Jambo here, in with a potential shot of the victory. He is second place, about no more than 10 seconds now. It's definitely no more than 10 seconds. In fact, I'll just give it a little bit of
In the meantime, Writer's Tag is saying after the Grand Prix that you should go on GTA, Dan.
No. No. I'll probably play a little bit of COD. Might get a little bit of practice in for tomorrow night's race. And the gap between Jambo and Button is around 9-10 seconds. Jambo on the primes, options for Button. But yes, I need to get some practice for tomorrow night because I've just been tweaking around my wheel today. The race pace is starting to get there. More practice needed. It's very unusual for me to go to a track and be competitive straight out of the box, but on Thursday or Friday night when I turned up for my first session on here, on this game, the first time I went round Abu Dhabi on 2013, I was bang on the pace on the prime tyres doing low 39s. So, you know, that's decent.
Velocity's caught right up to the back of XRL LGS. Battle for fourth place here as they go into the final sector towards the, well, what looks almost like the Bullring supermarket, Bullring shopping centre in Birmingham, the hotel here in Abu Dhabi. Plenty of lights showing up on the track now as we get that blood red sky pretty much as we're almost into the full darkest sectors of night. Velocity's definitely got the pace on the option tyres. Velocity is on the primes, so he's definitely going to have less pace.
We've got a little bit of a battle behind, yeah.
Yeah, we've got Nero Toasty in P6 on the prime tyres, with NMR Mr. Indigo also on the primes, look fresher, so Indigo's going to have the better chance here. Right on board with this duel for now, but Velocity might well catch up to the back here, so we'll keep an eye on that as well. On the streaming one, the Mr. Needs 1983 reckons it'll take 2 years before the new engines are bulletproof. Reasonable guess. They're not putting the stresses on it. Of course, the key question is whether any of the manufacturers will use any Le Mans teams as a way of getting extra running. I know for a fact that the current V6s in F1 are compliant with the ECO rules for Le Mans. And curiously, Renault were going to have a partnership with Caterham, who had an LMP2 team, but Caterham withdrew. So that partnership's gone down the toilet. Meanwhile, Enema Strindigo got better drive at the hairpin at the start of Sector 2, gets right past Nira Toasty here. DRS flat wide open, but he's not got the pace, I don't think, to break away from Toasty. So the question is, can that Sauber get a decent exit and get the DRS back towards the start of Sector 3? Both cars were pretty scruffy coming out of that corner there, rolled a bit too close to the curbs, and I don't think there's going to be enough pace in that Sauber now.
LGS has also been overtaken on the second DRS zone by Velexity here, or I assume it was the second DRS zone. LGS keeping quite tight as we now go towards the hotel, taking the right-hander, and then we're going to drive under the hotel here. And yeah, it looks like Velexity's just got that extra grip of being on the option tyres, and he's just starting to pull away a small gap. So Velexity up into P4. He's had a bit of an interesting race. He started right at the back, and it's been a grind. He's grinded out this result today, just based on keeping it clean, keeping it on the track, not getting involved in any incidents. And he's slowly finding himself go higher up the list.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, it's like there's lots of parallels with real life F1 there. Again, spoiler alert, we're going to talk about the Australian race here. But you only have to look at the results by the likes of Fernando Alonso and Nico Hulkenberg today, where they had flashes of pace and it started to fall away. And they just kept at it, kept the pressure on when they could, and drove around the problems in order to get very, very good finishes in the end. Yeah, it's not where they want to be, but it's a good platform for the rest of the season, unlike the likes of Lotus and the likes of Sauber, who have just let all the wheels fall off the axle.
Yeah, I'm a bit if I'm honest, me being a Ferrari fan, I'm a bit disappointed in Ferrari's performance. I would have liked to see a little bit more. They apparently had, yeah, it was probably where they expected. It's the realistic result. They counted on others' mistakes today a little bit as well. Because, I mean, I don't think...
Mr. Deeds has asked a very good question here. He says, when Honda come around in 2015, will they be more clued up or left behind? Well, it's a tricky question to ask this, because they have, theoretically, an extra year to develop the engine in private. But I do believe, as part of the contract for coming back, they had to sign an agreement that they wouldn't go into all-out developing war with the other manufacturers. So they had to keep it similar to the rules, as Lewis Hamilton goes a bit too wide at the final corner. The thing is, though, Honda have got one of the best records with regards to turbo engines, and engines in general. I mean, we've got what they had with McLaren in the 1980s. I mean, little more needs to be said about that. We also had the performances with Williams as well in the early 90s. So they're a team they're a manufacturer who've got a lot of experience with the turbo engines. But then again, so do Renault. They ran them in the 1980s. They've been running them in road cars pretty much forever. And look at how poor their engine is. So it's really, really hard to call.
Yeah, it's a lot more complex than probably what it was back then. You got all of these, you know, the KERS unit I don't even know what it is. It's too...
Well, it's the energy recovery. So you've got KERS at one point, and then you've also got the harvesting of the turbo gases when the turbos build up. So it's like you're running two simultaneous hybrid engines, technically. And I don't think any road car manufacturer is currently doing that. They're all running it based off brakes usually. So, you know, things like getting things like the turbo gases and God knows what else used, it's a whole new world. It's a whole new area. And who knows how much development they've got. Meanwhile, Jambo's under massive pressure now from Hamilton. Under the prime tyres here, Hamilton on the options has got much more grip. And despite being initially quite far behind, looking into the hotel hairpin, just got away, backed out the last second there. And we're going under the hotel grandstand now into this very tight Monaco section here, as the sun is still creeping over the horizon. We're not quite fully dark yet here in the United Arab Emirates. And Lewis Hamilton's definitely got the legs on this Force India for now. Expect a DRS-assisted pass on this lap.
Yeah, he's been in the 41s ever since he set his fastest lap of the race, which is a 41.4. So
Jambo's earlier braking very nearly caught him out there.
Yeah, you just have a look at that. Jambo's ran wide at a corner that's usually flat out. So I mean, his tyres are starting to say no more. And Lewis Hamilton now
really holding up Hamilton here. Hamilton's really all over the back of him, hustling him heavily. Both guys touch wheels coming out of the hairpin at the start of the DRS straight here, and Jambo's definitely not going to have the legs, but he's tucked right in behind Hamilton. Hamilton breaks the toe to the outside. He can't move again, otherwise he will be guilty of more than one change of direction here, and Jambo is going to have a go. He's not giving this up easily at all. Hamilton gets past, but Jambo, poor traction and a lack of grip in the middle corner there. Look at how much Hamilton pulled out on him as a result of that.
Yeah, nearly half a second there, just pulled out of one corner. Jambo does have DRS here, but it's more about just trying to hold on for next lap, but I think that's going to be a difficult job. Jambo on much older primes compared to Lewis Hamilton on a newer set of options, so realistically Lewis Hamilton should drive away now.
He should do, but again, it's a question of what kind of pit strategy Jambo's on. If Jambo's on another prime stint here, he might be able to make it to the end on one stop. Now, if Hamilton commits to the aggressive strategy of using the options, he may have to pit twice. So Jambo is still not out of the running. This is very much a game of chess between these people. It's a question of whether you use your bishop or your queen to make your attack on the king. And that's what Jambo's doing at the moment. He's deciding his pieces to make his move.
As LGS makes a pass on Velexity for P4. Velexity's going to try and get him back. Both of these guys are on the options. LGS on a much fresher set of them, though.
Indeed. On the stream, we've got an interesting question from Motorsport Nerd, actually. He says, should there be a Constructors' Championship for the engine suppliers in order to encourage the teams to supply their engines out to customer teams? Well, they don't really need that, because there is actually an obligation where they have to supply them to customers. Honda, for instance, they've signed, McLaren are their manufacturer partner. They are the top team for Honda. But I think after 2015's over, Honda are obliged to supply their engines if a team approaches them for custom. And there's actually an interesting rumour that's been going around the paddock in F1 that Red Bull are really unhappy with the way things are going with Renault, and that they might actually be trying to court Honda for the future when that contract's up for renewal. So that could be very interesting.
The way I see it with F1 at the moment, people may not like it, I don't really know, but the way I see it is it's the future of motoring, isn't it? In about 5 years' time.
I think people generally, having watched the race today, like turn 2 at Australia usually is a case of press your foot through the front nose cone if you can to put as much power down and fly through it. Today we saw the likes of Fernando Alonso, likes of Lewis Hamilton, all getting very, very ragged through that corner purely because of the difference in the torque and the downforce. For me, look at John-Eric Verne when he pulled off the almost Forza 4S drift at the final corner before he was passed by Valtteri Bottas. You saw drivers really out on the ragged edge and over the ragged edge, really showcasing how talented they really are. People have always thought that the cars are so easy to drive that anyone can drive them these days. Not anymore. And I think as long as we keep the rules away from teams being able to claw back too much downforce and being able to get that kind of braking so late, it's quite possible that we'll see lots of close banzai driving.
Be interesting to see how Codemasters take it next year.
Yes.
On the next gen. You know, a lot of people are quite critical of how it's done at times by them, but this is a fresh shot with a lot of changes, and on the next gen console most likely, but you never know. It'll be interesting to see what they can do. But Velexity's held on
really
to LGS. Yeah, LGS made a move a few laps ago and has been able to hold him pretty honest here. And here we go.
LGS, I think he's going to play the strategic let him pass me move here. In fact, look at Veleksity, not using the DRS. He's wise to this. He's like, oh no, you don't. And he's going to hold back and wait for this going into the chicane here. And LGS will be so annoyed because look at this. Veleksity just stuck to the back of the diffuser, saved half his curves, but look at LGS though, got great traction off that corner.
Yeah,
and even with the DRS and even with the curves, I'm not sure Velexity's going to be close enough. He's going to have a go, went for the dummy on the inside, bad idea there, but LGS has been unsighted by that, almost went through the chicane.
Forced him into the area there.
Interesting though, Motorsport Nerd saying on the stream that based off the results of today's race, spoiler alert, keep an eye away from my chat if you don't want to know, Mercedes currently the top manufacturer with 77 points, second you got Ferrari with 18, and then in third place you got Renault with 6. As well, Leicester gets an easy pass there, as LGS goes totally wide, almost goes into the wall, and that's as easy as it's done.
Yeah, it just shows, you know, how bad Renault are doing. Only 3 cars finished today from Renault.
One to finish second.
They finished second, and they had Kivat and Ricardo and Verne who finished from the Renault team. No Caterham, no Lotus, no Vettel.
That's pretty bad when 2 of your manufacturer teams pretty much fail.
Yeah. And you know, you just see straight off the lines there, both Lewis Hamilton and Vettel, that it just wasn't going to work out. Vettel was getting mugged by Max Chilton off the line. I think that kind of says it all, really. When by the time you get to turn 1, you're getting mugged by 3 or 4 drivers that are in a much inferior car to yours, you know something's not quite right. So,
but that's one of the things I like about F1.
Yeah.
Over the last few years, it's got so bulletproof that if you've been out in front, you've carried on, you've pushed to the max. I like the fact that engines are going to fail. I like the fact that energy recovery systems aren't reliable, that you might start getting problems with your turbo. And I like the fact you've got to really be careful with the power. We're back to the classic days of the 80s and the 90s, when drivers having to drive around problems, like when Senna drove his 6th gear for an entire race, like when Damon Hill was robbed of his win in Hungary because of the fact that his gear got stuck in second. We're seeing drivers having to do creative solutions to get to the end of the race.
Exactly.
Hang on, Lexi's got a 5-second lag and has lost out to LGS as a result.
I thought
he's got it twice. Unbelievably, so one of the guys going into the pit gained time on him. That was Fozzie.
No, I didn't think he went into the pit, but oh dear, that's not good for him at all then. So with 17 more laps to go, I would assume there's one more stop. These guys will go in for primes probably in about 2 or 3 laps, not that many if I'm honest. TRL buttons open the big gap.
So unfortunately, due to that 5-second lag, once again, the field started to spread out, so we're not really got anyone very close here. So, keeping back to the main sport of the main F1 season itself then, one of the things that we are definitely going to see here is whether we're going to finally have the Caterhams and the Marussias claw their way into the points. The guys have been here since 2010 and have been totally left behind. It's as simple as that. Oh, TRL Button goes, actually Lewis Hamilton was a bit too far wide there, hits the wall at the end of sector 3, could have easily lost a wing there, but got away with that. TRL Button's just starting that sector now, so not quite a pit stop in hand from Hamilton, but not far off. Going back to the point though, Caterham and Marussia have most doubtedly been left behind. And it's not through the lack of effort from the drivers. Last season, Jules Bianchi did many onboard videos of where he was really on the edge, you know, getting as much pace as he could from the car. We also had Vitaly Petrov come so close and then fail on the final, fail to get into the points at Interlagos. Are we finally going to see these guys break the duck? They've definitely deserved it on the efforts.
Yeah, well, these early races are where it's going to be, where they're going to get points, no doubt. But I'm quite surprised by the reliability, sir. I thought maybe a few more cars would go out. You don't know how many actually retired through reliability grounds. 4? Oh, 6 was it?
4, yeah. Well, 5,
we had...
because Kamil Kobayashi's brakes.
Well, yeah.
So that's why you put it, so technically it's 5.
So 5 went out on reliability, and 3 went out to do with sort of the motor, the power unit. Something to do within the power unit, whatever part it was. Everyone had a different thing. You know, Lewis Hamilton had one less cylinder to drive with. Vettel had his problems. Then you had a turbo issue for Grosjean, and Maldonado had something, I think, was it the energy recovery, I think. So
yeah. On the stream, yeah. Mr. Deeds is saying he thinks the fuel rule was one too many rules in one hit, and thinks maybe it could have been cut from 160 litres to 100 over 2 to 3 years. Maybe not 2 to 3 years, but they could have probably cut it down to about 140. Encouraged a bit more pace from the drivers. But then again, there are rumours, I'm talking in rumours here as usual, Apparently, because of the way the energy recovery systems work, which, to be fair, is a lot more than last season. Last season it was 6.6 seconds a lap. This year it's 33.3. So we're talking 5 times the difference in energy that's sourced outside the engine itself. It's from energy recovered and reused. Now, the rumours are that apparently, with the way the rate of development's going to be, there's possibility that by the likes of Monza, by the likes of Japan, we might see teams having engines that are so well controlled, they might not even use 100 litres in the race. Now, if that happens, that would be a phenomenal achievement to have chopped down more than 60 litres of fuel in one season.
It is pretty impressive. I watched a programme called Horsepower on Sky last night, basically about Ferrari's pre-season, with the and everything, like the engines and everything like that. It was a really good watch. And how they had issues with, part of it was how they had issues with their fuel. And it's quite surprising, 99% of the fuel they use is what is in everyday cars. But that 1% is what makes the difference, and yeah, that's actually quite surprising.
Well, again, this is one of the things about the sport. What they're trying to do is not only be greener, which I believe they can achieve by cutting down on the amount of trucks and equipment they take to the races, but that's one of the reasons. But the other reason is to try and make the technology trickle down to road cars better. I mean, current technology could have been explored years ago, and the likes of the Toyota Prius and all that would be even more advanced if there was a chance to do that developmental energy before 2009. Now, with the fact that a lot more engines these days are small, like, for instance, Alfa Romeo have released a convertible sports car that's got a V4, for instance. You know, like an Italian sports car manufacturer putting a V4 in it. Back in the 1970s, you'd have got laughed out of Italy if you suggested that.
Yeah.
So it just shows that all manufacturers all around the world, even McLaren, I think McLaren and Porsche with their hybrid supercars, they're like hybrid V4s.
Just a quick mention, actually, these top 3 are really starting to close in. TRL Buttons made his final stop, he's on the primes. Lewis Hamilton will have to make one more stop, he's on the options currently. And I believe that's Jambo's another little, he'll have to stop as well. So really, Button's got quite a big gap once the drivers make their pit stops. But how much will Lewis Hamilton come back at the end, we don't know.
Not only that though, I mean, Button's got the pending penalty for the illegal overtake. So there's a question here of how big his gap's going to be. Because as far as Button's concerned, he's going to be out in front and ready to take the win. But with the illegal overtake, that more than likely is going to be imposed by the stewards, that's going to give him a big headache if Hamilton gets a decent final run. And it's a question of when Hamilton stops. If Hamilton can make these tyres last another 3 or 4 laps, he might be able to do a final options run. And if Button's on the primes, that could be the difference maker.
It could be. It's not the longest of pit lanes here either. It is a long pit lane, but with that turn 1, where you sort of cut it and you're on the inside, it's not as long as other pit lanes. So that 10-second penalty could mean a lot, but at the same time, Lewis Hamilton has one for exceeding track limits last week, so because that was his 3rd point he accumulated throughout the season. So they basically...
No, it's very close to Hamilton, actually, because Hamilton's only just gone through the hairpin. As Button started, that gap's down to maybe 2 seconds. I'm not sure he's going to have DRS here, TRL Button, but he's definitely going to have it in the next lap.
He might even get it before, he might even get it at the second chance this lap.
All depends here on the mechanical grip out of the car, because I've seen some drivers gaining a lot of time in the middle of this chicane. Seems strange that there'd be such a differential in grip here, but it certainly seems that way from what we've seen tonight. So TRL Button doing what he can to try and close on Hamilton, but Hamilton I think has responded a bit, because that gap appears to have slightly increased. Only ever so slightly, but slightly enough. And TRL Button got better traction through the chicane though, as Hamilton goes off the track at the next 90-degree corner. It's all like, they're all losing time and then clawing it straight back in different ways. I've not seen a race like this for quite some time.
I think only the likes of, Andy was in there still. I mean, he would have been reasonably competitive, especially with TRL Button. He hasn't been as, runaway standout race winner as Oh!
Lag.
Oh, lag. I thought Lewis Hamilton missed his stop for a minute.
Yeah, he's gone into the box now. And, yeah, he's gone into the box at 1:50. 1 minute 50 seconds to get into the box. I think that's pretty much sealed his position now. He will have ceded a lot of time there. So, now, Jambo, the question is, how far can he stay ahead? He's just come out of the end of Sector 1 now. Going back to Hamilton, he's only just going into the pit box. Now, Jambo's got to stop here.
Jambo's got
Jambo
one more
might be able to jump him.
Possibly with that lag, you never know. But Lewis Hamilton's gone on to the
options.
So that's
12 laps.
12 laps. Yeah, that's bang on probably the sharp end of how many laps you can get out of those tyres. I wouldn't want to do too many more, but having said that, I mean, he should be able to eat into that gap that TRL Button's got on those option tyres.
Well, I mean, looking on more with Jambo now, he's not too far behind TRL Button, surprisingly. Oh, and lost connection to Mr. Indigo. So another driver falls by the wayside. We're down to just 7 runners and riders. This is extraordinary. And XRL Fozzy is bringing up the back of that group, but he is actually closing on the back of Nira Toasty in the Sauber, who once again is more than likely going to have a penalty applied due to retiring and qualifying. So XRL Fozzy is going to get a solid set of points here, purely by keeping it on the island and getting to the end of the race. It's like Murray used to always say, to finish first you got to finish. And it applies no matter where you are in the position of the track. You want the points, you have to cross the line first.
Exactly.
Blacksteo is not giving up here. He's currently in P5, chasing onto the back of XRL LGS, who's done a very good recovery drive, actually, because he appeared to be totally out of sync regards to his stops. And speaking of that, he's just got into the box right now. That's a coincidence. Gets his stop nice and clean there, avoids going wide. Blacksteo's going to go on through, so he's going to take that 5th position. Meanwhile, behind them now, Nira Toasty is under big pressure because Fozzy on the prime tyres has started to really close the gap. Both guys running on primes outside the point. These guys may not have to stop again. So LGS is going to come out behind them, and the last thing he needs is to want to get involved in a scrap like this. He's going to hope these guys need to box again. If not, life could get a big headache for him.
Yeah, exactly. So Fozzy is now into P6 as of that, and yeah, he's giving Nira Toasty a tough time here. Those fresh tyres for LGS should mean that these two that he should get past these two reasonably easy, but
well, again, it's a question of how much these two fight, because the last thing LGS wants to be is right at the back of the chain and then attempt to make a move and Fozzy make one at the same time and sideswipe him. We've seen that kind of thing happen so many times before. Fozzy's not waiting, actually. He's going to have a go on Nira Toasty into the chicane. He's going to have the tighter line here. Nira Toasty is going to try and cut back and get a good run out of this. Oh, he's got a lot of fishtail action there, Toasty. Really got poor grip out of these prime tyres. Despite that, he's kept in touching distance here of XRL Fozzy. DRS flat wide open, heading to the end of Sector 3, into a triple chicane, commits to the outside. We saw Sebastian Vettel do this on Button, and that's fantastic from Nira Toasty there. Really managed to find the grip in the middle of that corner beautifully. He's got a bit wide though, and that's going to leave him vulnerable here. Is Fozzy going to try and go wall of death around the outside? That's very, very brave. Just keeps it inside the lines. He's going for an overtake on the inside, and that is superb on the brakes to make it through. And LGS now is getting involved on the action due to these guys tussling. He's all over the back of them.
Great respectful driving from both of those guys. They gave each other plenty of room, and two really top overtakes from both of them.
A bit more hammer and tongs dueling, please. Now, we've got someone else in the pits ahead of them. Who's that? Who's coming out the end of the pit?
Would that
That's
be
Velexity?
Velexity?
So Velexity now is back
yeah, he was quite
LGS.
close. Yeah, he was quite close to LGS, wasn't he? So earlier. So yeah, that makes sense. So these four are going to battle it out.
Both of these two have now got both Fozzy and Nira Toasty in front of them, battling very, very hard. And all of a sudden, anything's possible from here. These cars could easily cause a massive trip-up chain effect. So right above LGS, who's staring at the back of Nero Toasty in the Salva, he's got the DRS on that car, and if he can get the legs, he might be able to split behind, get stuck in behind XRL Fozzy, and then out-drag him down to the start of Sector 3. LGS decided not to use the DRS, but even without it, has been able to drive up the inside of Toasty beautifully, and he's got the traction here to have a great chance now on the DRS down towards XRL Fozzy at the end of Sector 2. So we're heading towards the chicane. DRS spot now definitely open. Pulls into the slipstream. He might be a bit too far behind, but he's not going to be stopped. Going to have a go. Long way outside the brakes. Magnificent for LGS. Where did he find a stopping power on that? And Nero Toasty follows him through, as does Velexity. XRL Fozzy loses 3 places in 1 corner.
Good move there from LGS, really opportunist move there, and who we got behind, so that's Nero Toasty. He somehow made it through. It all worked out much easier for Velexity, but Toasty made a solid move there. On his debut,
quite a bit of time as well. He's got good 4/10 here on Velexity as a result of that fracker. But I think the reason for that is because XRL Fozzy didn't really see him. He saw those two and was thinking, oh, bloody hell. And next thing, a third car's there. And I think he's hampered as a result of that. He's got in the way of Velexity. And LGS now has got a great chance to scamper away and pick up a very good 4th place here and some very valuable points.
Yep, 12 valuable points for LGS. It's so far working itself okay for him. Let's see if Velexity can get past Nero Toasty and make it an interesting battle, because I think if it happens quickly, then
got the flap open now. This is a great chance. Problem is, he needed to get past Nero Toasty here to be within DRS zone for LGS, and he's not going to be there. So LGS now has got a great chance to scamper away as Nero Toasty defends and holds him up.
Velexity should make it stick at the second time.
Why, oh why, did you make this 100% across the board? Don't answer that yet, because Velexity pulls out the slipstream and goes right round the outside of Nero Toasty. Now Toasty's going to follow, thinking about a late braking cutback. That would have been very brave. Gets out of it, though, knows he's got no way to defend that, and both the option runners are through. And also Nero Toasty goes very, very wide out on the marbles there, so that's going to bring him back into contact with Fozzy. Just when Fozzy thought all was lost, he's now got another chance to pick up some more points. So go. Why did you make
was this 100%? I just thought because of the whole night race, if it's 50%, you don't get to experience it. So I thought for a first season, why not? Why not make this 100% so the drivers can experience it? It's something a little bit different. It is a long race, and it is a difficult track with the curves.
No, it's not. There's loads of runoff.
Well, yeah, but
we have a problem with curves.
But in terms of a difficult track, I mean, the curves are quite hard, and you can easily spin from them as well. I mean, that's what makes it so difficult. I mean, it's quite easy to get too much curve and spin and ruin your race. We see Jambo tonight. I saw him spin tonight because of it at the hotel section. It is done, but it's difficult. It's not a difficult track, but it's not a straightforward track. There's a lot to do around the track, so it does test the driver's knowledge of a setup and how good they are around a track.
XRL Fozzy now trying to get close to the back of Nero Toasty, but he's not quite got the run there. And interestingly, Velexity appears to have made up quite a bit of ground on LGS. I'm not sure if he'll be in DRS distance here, but he's certainly closed the gap a bit. So let's ride on board here. These two now pretty much the last wheel scrap, aside from Fozzy and Nero Toasty. The other guys appear to be a bit too far apart. Behind, speaking of that battle actually, Nero Toasty defending from XRL Fozzy, who got close but no cigar in that chicane, but both drivers pushing as wide as they can through the corners that follow. These guys are right on the ragged edge.
It's interesting. It'll be interesting to figure out what the gap will be to the top 3 when the race is done, because obviously some of them will have penalties to add.
And that could make a big difference.
I think at the moment, it will, even with penalties, it will stay as it is. Like, Jambo might have to try and find maybe another couple of seconds just to close in on Lewis Hamilton for that second place spot. But let's see how it goes.
In the meantime, now XRL Fozzy trying to get as close as he dares to the back of Nero Toasty, who, again, That's probably this battle. It might not even be necessary because Toasty is going to have a penalty for retiring and qualifying. But at the same time, it's great on-track action, so let's try and stick with it where we can. Meantime, up ahead, Velocity now is getting very, very close to the back of LGS, and DRS is open, so battle is now properly joined between the two Mercedes-powered cars. McLaren of LGS ahead, though, so the Silver Arrow of Velocity will want to get ahead and be able to get much more pace and points out of the car. Oh, poor traction from the middle there from Velocity. Really didn't get the power down well. Despite that, I'd saved a lot of his curves, and that's pulled him right back into contention. DRS flat wide open, goes to the outside for the chicane. This is going to be brave stuff. Can he get stopped? LGS commits to the inside, and great defensive driving there from the McLaren driver. Really found it on the braking. Behind them, Nira Toasty has held the car in the middle of the circuit, and Fozzie is unable to take advantage. Into the hotel section, Velocity trying to get as close as he can to the back of LGS. Gets poor traction out of the start of the section, though, and LGS gains a couple of tenths there. But, Velocity put a bit too much oil on the curve. Very nearly spun that, caught it well. But now LGS has got a big gap, and Velocity has it all to do all over again. Goes a bit wide on the exit there. Velocity's definitely pushing. He wants that fourth position, but LGS is driving a masterful defensive race here. Mistake from Nira Toasty. Clicks too much to the inside curve at the final corner, and XRL Fozzie goes through for now.
Yeah, I'm keeping an eye on this battle between Velocity and LGS. It's not really a battle at the moment. It's about a second in between the two. I should really
get back. Here for Velocity, I believe.
Yep.
He's just literally inside it. But it's all about traction off this corner because it's so easy to not get catapulted. Look at that. LGS just was able to shoot forward, and that negates the DRS, which makes a colossal advantage. Meanwhile, Nira Toasty is probably just going to be in the DRS range for Fozzie, but I'm not sure he's going to get more close. Flat wide open, Fozzie goes very defensive, goes right to the inside. Doesn't even try to get the race in line, but Nira Toasty's just not quick enough for now. And the question is, has Fozzie compromised himself and cost himself a bit too much speed there? Poor exit from the corner there from Fozzie. Nira Toasty's definitely got the DRS flat wide open, no curves left for the Sauber driver as we head to the start of Sector 3 into the triple chicane. Nira Toasty's not been afraid to stick it on the braking here. XRL Fozzie defends in the middle of the track. They come very close, but Toasty just cannot get through. Like I say, a very healthy turnout here on Channel 2, so thank you for staying with us. It's been a long race, there's been a lot of action and controversy, but it's been a great to have all your company and all your questions. Do keep them coming. But Nira Toasty and Fozzie, but the cat got your tongue down, you're not saying anything for a while. I guess I'll take that as a yes, because he's not answered my question. So in the meantime, now, we do have Nira Toasty trying to get on the back of Fozzie. Just going out to the front, I'll give you a rundown of the fastest lap times while I can. TRL Button is on a 1:39.7 at the top of the order, but Lewis Hamilton, his teammate, a 1:39.9. Only 2 tenths between them, which is very strong pace indeed. Jambo, meanwhile, a 1:40.6 in P3, very solid pace all round. Then we've got XRL LGS on a 1:40.1. Underlying, he's got competitive pace. And then Velocity, a 1:39.9, same pace as Hamilton, just to show what that car's capable of. Then we've got Fozzie on a 1:41.6 and Nira Toasty on exactly the same time. Both guys doing brilliantly. And before we lost connection, NMR Mr. Indigo done a 1:40.5. So really, really good pace all round here from these guys. And if you're watching in the lower divisions, take plenty of notes on how to get the race-winning strategy. The Blacks team, meanwhile, now has actually managed to get past LGS. Didn't see that because I was giving you the rundown of the order here. So LGS has got to do it all over again on the Mercedes driver. Meantime, Rice's tag is saying, tell Dan that Sean got killed on GTA and what's your response? That's if you're even still alive. And judging by the lack of answers to that, I'd say you're not. So in the meantime now, XRL LGS getting close here to the back of Velocity. Behind them, we have got Nira Toasty in P6, defending like a tiger against XRL Fozzie, who's really took the fight to this Sauber driver. Despite the fact that these guys are right at the back of the points, despite the fact they're about a 1.5 second off the ultimate pace, They've been really entertaining to watch and extremely respectful. Very, very good advertising for league racing all over here. XRL GS, though, is going up to the DRS zone, and it's going to definitely have the run of Velocity, who makes a mistake at the hairpin, almost spins the car, loses a lot of time. LGS has got a great chance here. Now, is he going to use the DRS? The answer is no, but at the same time, Velocity pushes him very, very wide here, pushes him to the outside, and LGS decides he's going to use the DRS, try and break the gap. Velocity, though, is going to have the counter run down towards the end of Sector 2 and the start of 3. Got plenty of curves, a full bar available for Velocity here. A lot of power available under the wheel. DRS wide open, but LGS really done well out of that chicane, getting plenty of grip there. And despite that, he's definitely going to hold on to that 4th place. But he's got a bit wide in the middle of the chicane there. Valexi's running a cleaner run. Is he going to stick on the inside the 90-degree corner? They're side by side. Little bit of contact there, but LGS is let through by Velexi. Extremely good driving. Meanwhile, on the stream, I've got a question about real-life F1 here. Some Rampage 8993. Spoiler alert, I am going to talk about this if you've not watched the coverage on the BBC iPlayer or on Sky. As for the Red Bull pace, we didn't really see all of it because Vettel had an engine problem and was really slow off the line, getting hampered by the likes of the Caterhams, by the likes of the Marussias, really struggling. But as for the guy, his teammate, Daniel Ricciardo, well, he had pace. It wasn't as fast as the Mercedes runners, but certainly had a lot of power. Now, the problem, of course, is that Daniel Ricciardo, he got disqualified because apparently the fuel flow rate for the car was exceeding the rules. And Red Bull ignored the FIA commands to turn it down. So there's a lot of questions as to whether the pace from the Red Bull was actually truly representative, or if they had more power than they should have. From what I saw, though, cornering pace was definitely strong from the Red Bull. As for straight line speed, probably lacking a few ultimate miles per hour at the top end. But I would say they've got a very solid car if they can sort out their issues, Rampage. But meantime, Velocity has got a great chance here to get a look at the inside of LGS. LGS, oh, they touch wheels. They're pushing each other across. And LGS has retained the position, but Velocity is going to have the DRS down towards the end of Sector 3. Great opportunity here. DRS flat wide open into the final chicane at the Sector 3 here. Oh, Velocity goes a bit too greedy on the inside, cuts a bit too much of it. Got to be careful he doesn't gain too much of an advantage on LGS here. These two have been battling now for the last 20 laps. It's been wonderfully exciting to watch. Behind them, meanwhile, we've just seen a pass. Anira Toasty, XRL Fozzy trying to get on the inside at start Sector 3, but he's just been pushed out. Beautiful defensive drive from Anira Toasty. Velocity, meanwhile, still within like maybe 3 or 4 tenths of XRL LGS. These guys are not letting each other go. Riding through the final corner, Velocity gets a slightly scruffy exit there, gets a bit too much of the curb, throws him a little wide, and that'll tear the tyres. Last thing he needs, we're into the final 3 laps here of this grueling endurance length race under the night skies of Abu Dhabi. We started in daylight, we end at night, and let's carry on out of here because the night is still young. So, into the end of the Sector 1, Velocity gets a tighter line, chicane very nearly went over the white lines there, but just got away with that. Heading towards the DRS zone, he's down. Oh, cut way too much of that inside corner there, but it's actually slowed him down. He's getting very scruffy and agitated, staring at the back of LGS, and he's tearing out the tyre lift. Now, LGS is definitely going to be ahead into the second DRS zone. Can Velocity stick it up at the start of Sector 3? Velocity lighting up the tyres, going off the track. Very scruffy driving here. He's so determined to get this 4th place. He's taking as much of the track and more as he dares. Into the chicane at the end of Sector 2. Velexity's just too far behind LGS, though, who's really keeping that car neat and tidy. While Velocity, once again, goes over the inside of the chicanes, keeps on cutting these white lines. Really poor driving here. Got to stick to the rules. XRL Fozzy, meanwhile, is past Nira Toasty on the DRS, but Toasty's fighting back into the final chicane. Oh, they come very, very close there, but Nira Toasty just runs out of room and very nearly spins the car, collecting it on the curb there. But beautiful catch, John-Eric Furness. Really good driving.
So 2 more laps left of the race then. Toasty still needing to make a move stick. These two have been at it like right times the last few laps
now is getting very close to the back of LGS.
Yeah,
Turn 1.
yeah, I was following that a few laps ago. Let's get back over to that one. That one is for P4 with, yes, he is all over the back of him. Right, so with DRS, 2 bursts of it this lap, and with only 1 more lap, it might be a good time to overtake if he can.
One thing about Velocity is he's got very scruffy now in this battle. He's constantly been going over the white lines over the last few laps. He's really pushing very, very hard and overdriving that Mercedes. And that's going to be bringing up the tyre wear, bringing up the thermal degradation. And LGS is just driving a very solid, stoic defensive drive. Meantime, Jordan Kelly on the stream is asking me, what do I make of the McLaren's performance? I'm guessing that's in real life F1. So once again, spoiler alert, we're about to talk about this. I think the McLaren's performance was about where I expected it. They have a lot of underlying pace in the car. It appears to be a car which has got a lot better grip and handling, easier to set up. And the fact that they've already beaten their best result from last season in the first race shows just how much they've got that car in the right hookup zone. They'll be a bit disappointed about Button's performance in Q2. I mean, not that Raikkonen didn't help when he crashed the car when he did, but needless to say, you've got to be careful that you don't get caught up in the race, and Button did exactly that. Showed great tyre management, even with the broken nose towards the end. So the McLaren's got a lot of pace. I'm hoping that by the European season, they'll be right up there with the pace of the Mercedes, the Red Bull, and the likes of Williams. It'd be awesome to see a proper 4-car scrap like the old days. What's your opinion on the McLaren's pace?
Well, I'm not a McLaren fan, so...
No, you're an Alonso fan. You can't be an Alonso fan and be a McLaren fan.
No, I mean, it's good to see them. It's such a good change from last year to see them right up there. So, in terms of that, it's positive for them. And, you know, for a team to have a season like they did last season, I don't enjoy it when it's like that. Yes, I've got a small smile on my face at Ferrari ahead of them, but you know, you don't want to see a big team like McLaren go like that. Like the decline of Williams is another sad thing, but it's good to see both of those teams starting to have a good few races again.
Well, this is his final chance here. DRS zone 1, he didn't... and he's gone 2
too much,
there.
too
And I think that's possibly condemned him to 5th place. But he's saved a lot of his curves here. He's got a chance with the extra boost to be able to fight LGS into the chicane. I reckon it's going to be a damn move here, do or die. He's got nothing to lose. On the brakes, I called it. He's hit LGS. He's knocked him off. And he's completely missed the chicane. Well, I did say he's got nothing to lose, apart from the fact they both nearly went out of the race there. Good driving by LGS to keep that from a spin there. Very lucky not to get the side pod glitch. But for Lexity, that was a case of the red mist there. He really should have given that up. Behind them, XRL Fozzy has really broken clear of Nira Toasty. I think after that mistake at the final corner, that's where it's all gone for him. So TRL Button, as far as I can see, has taken the checkered flag, but
yes,
it's a question of the penalties and whether that affects it.
How much for first and second? It's a Red Bull 1-2, but by how much? To Jambo, who, you know, could be promoted positions because of it. When I saw them go over the start-finish line, there wasn't a massive gap, though that could have changed because they were not actually driving. So
Velocity's got a 20-second penalty.
That'll be for the incident he had of LGS.
So because in the collision, he may well lose out to both Fozzy and Toasty. Or will he? I don't think so.
Awfully close.
Let's find out. He's already he's lost out to Fozzy, but he's not lost out. So here we go. The gap to Hamilton was only 3 seconds. The gap to Jambo was 5. Now, if both Hamilton and Button have 10-second penalties, that means Jambo is going to be the winner.
Yeah, I don't think we should mention that one to the chat because obviously we don't know what's going to happen with the penalties. You could see Nutters rate watching tonight, but let's get the top 3 in TRL Battle, Lewis Hamilton and Jambo in. See what they had to say. But bit of a shame we only had 7, but it's an improvement on recent weeks. Some of the driving has been decent. Toasty, decent performance for him. Shame about F1 Nigel's incident, and NMR Mr. Indigo and Sean disconnecting from the race as well. So yeah, let's get these top 3, and they had a good race.
We'll see if we can get them in for their comments here as we get at the end of the race. Obviously, we did say there's potential Can I ask a question? What do we think of the GP2? I've not seen GP2 this season, and I don't even know if it started yet, so I don't know. Last season, standard of drivers not very good. They really need to improve the behaviour, but the guys have got raw pace. The likes of Danny Fiat, the likes of Valtteri Bottas, the likes of Kevin Magnussen, all these young guns have really showed what you can do if you can deliver that pace on track. So there's hope for these guys, likes of James Collado, the likes of Darius Valsecchi. Just waiting for the group here. We've obviously got our second place finisher Hamilton in here. So TRL Button, we'll start with you. A track where you certainly seem to have quite a lot of pace in the qualifying, but then on the race pace, it certainly seems your teammate gave you a bit more of a run for money you would have expected. How was it for you out there tonight?
Pretty disastrous with the curbs.
So the curbs are causing a lot of problems?
They were on a low fuel run. It was absolutely. If you saw like earlier, I lost my throat wing in a race, and I badly needed to go to the toilet as well. So I was like, oh come on, oh. So I had to pit and go and then come back. That's why you saw me ghosted in the pits. That's why you saw me ghosted in the pits. I was like, quick, get back. So I had to fucking, and I had to drive through fucking silly twat before the time. That's my own fault.
Okay, that's something we've never experienced on the stream before, but either way, obviously the results are still to be confirmed because of any incidents, but for now, enjoy the moment and congratulations. We'll go on to you in the meantime, Hamilton. You didn't seem to have much of the pace in qualifying, starting way down in P8, but on the race, it certainly seemed to unfold for you quite well. Obviously, we had the early retirements, the likes of Andy and F1 Nige, but still, were you eyeing got the chance for a podium when you saw where you came in qualifying?
No, I never expected it, to be honest, after the poor qualifying. After I saw my teammate pull a 1.8 second on the same compound on option, I was like, wow, there's no chance.
I mean, obviously, like, when the attrition happened with all the incidents, it certainly gave you a chance to fight there. Towards the end, did you think you might have had the pace to catch your teammate and take the win, or was second the best you were going to get today?
Yeah, I was second the best I could get today, and I was hoping to keep Jumbo behind after that last stint. He really did push me the limit. There's no way I'm letting him pass.
Okay. Excellent. Well, thank you very much for your comments. As I say, enjoy the moment, enjoy the result for now, and obviously any kind of assessments were made will be done after the race. Meantime, Jambo, let's go over to you then. Obviously, with your teammate pretty much disappearing on the first lap, you were pretty much the hopes for your team. Did you expect to have the chance to be fighting on the podium here with the likes of Hamilton and Button, or were you expecting to be somewhere in the midfield?
I thought I was going to get a podium after I saw Andy go, because there was about 4 of us that were a little bit further away from the rest of the pace, so I thought I could get a podium.
I mean, when you said there was like 4 of you a bit away from the pace, were you surprised that you were able to get such a gap over the likes of LGS and the likes of Velocity behind you, or were they people you always thought you had the beating of?
I was surprised Velocity wasn't higher up, but I know LGS is pretty hard on the tyres, so we do maybe 1 pit stop more.
Excellent. Well, excellent job. Congratulations to all 3 of you for surviving. Quite a few of the other drivers didn't manage that. Obviously, this week is a special week for the Excite Racing League because all divisions have a 100% distance race. So tomorrow night, you've got myself and Chris Moss in the box covering GP2. GP3 is happening Tuesday night, but we don't know if that's getting streamed yet. On the Wednesday, it's going to be either F4 or F5000. Which stream are you going to be covering there, Dan?
I'll be covering F5000. Crazy Fish looks to wrap up the title in F5 in the McLaren, so we want to be there. And then the final 2 weeks, we'll be covering F4's very, very close championship scrap for the final promotion spot. So it'll be our final stream of the F5 season here at Abu Dhabi.
In the meantime, then, of course, we do have on Sunday night next week, we will be going to the Circuit of the Americas on Austin, Texas, for the final round, the final leg. We're going out into the Atlantic to bring you some classic racing towards the end. Ice Cold Andy's got it all to do, having failed to pick up any real points here this weekend. A track where we would have expected him to dominate. Is he going to be able to wrap the title up in America, or are the likes of ex-Lewis Hamilton going to close it and take it down to the wire and give us that close season finale send-off? Either way, thank you all very much for watching. Coverage brought to you tonight by GT Omega Racing and GamePod.co.uk. Thank you all.